Good morning, everyone. We will begin the morning service of the Miroku Association headquarters, asking God and Meishu-sama for protection and the permission to participate today in the divine plan of constructing a paradise on this earth. Let us pray together the Amatsu-Norito, Prayer of Heaven, followed by the Miroku Prayer. Please stand. Taka amahara ni kamsumari masu. Kamuragi kamurami no mikoto mochite. Sumemi oya kamu izanagi no mikoto. Tsukushi no gimuka no tachirana no. Odo no awagi harani. Isogi harai tamo utoki ni narimasen. Arai dono o kamitachi moro moro no magagoto tsumikegare o arai tamai yome tamae tomao sukoto no yoshi o amatsu kami kunitsu kami yao yorozu no kami tachi tomo ni ame no kuchi koma no mimi urita tete kikoshi meseto kashiko mi mo maosu Miroku o mikami mamori tamae saki hae tamae Miroku o mikami mamori tamae saki hae tamae Oshie mi oya nushi no kami mamori tamae saki hae tamae Oshie mi oya nushi no kami Mamori tamae saki hae tamae. Kannagara tamachi hae mase. Kannagara tamachi hae mase. Great God of light, creator and giver of all life, in accordance with your divine will, the long age of night draws to an end. Your radiant divine light, shining ever more brilliantly, awakens the dawn of the glorious age of light, a time long awaited by all humanity. We thank you for guiding us to your divine plan and for the privilege of channeling and receiving Johrei. May our spirits and bodies be illuminated and purified as we live your truth given to us by Meishu-sama. Make us pure and effective instruments of your divine light, so that we may serve you and all those with whom we come in contact. May paradise on earth be realized, with health, peace, and prosperity, a reality in our lives. Great God of light, bless and protect us. Radiate our souls with your divine light, so that we may truly become instruments of your great plan. Please be seated. We will now receive group Johrei.
May the Meishu-sama bless you.
Johrei is now concluded. We now listen to a reading from Meishu-sama's teachings. Truth, virtue, and beauty. Only deeds of love can bring forth a world completely filled with truth, virtue, and beauty. Paradise on earth will be a world of beauty, a place where the inner hearts of all its inhabitants are just as beautiful. One whose thoughts, words, and deeds are always pure, always beautiful, can surely be considered one who lives in paradise. God's purpose is to create an ideal world where truth, virtue, and beauty reign. Needless to say, the dark forces foster falsehood, vice, and ugliness. Beauty is necessary to the soul, as it brings joy and a sense of wholeness, not only to yourself, but to all who come in contact with it. It can be called a kind of virtue. The higher a civilization is, it can be called a kind of virtue. The higher a civilization is, the more conscious it should be of the value of and need for beauty. It is essential that everyone cultivate a greater sense of aesthetic values. By so doing, not only individuals but nations as a whole will benefit. Making beauty and its expressions in the various phases of life one of a person's main goals is a contribution of immeasurable value toward the betterment of society, which will certainly serve as a means of furthering the realization of paradise on earth. Beautiful environments make for beautiful thoughts, helping to place a person's mind on a higher plane. This, in turn, reduces crime and other negative actions in society. It must be realized that any teaching that aims at high ideals should maintain an awareness of beauty.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the morning service on Miroku Association headquarters. This morning, I have the faith experience of Helena Wider. She's from the Petropolis Johrei Center, Brazil. In 2007, Helena was going through intense purifications. She had conflicts with her husband, and her health was very poor. She had been diagnosed with grade 3 hepatitis, and the blood circulation in her liver was insufficient. She felt a deep sadness and an emptiness in her heart. She was discouraged and didn't see any prospect of changes. She was a stubborn person and difficult to live with. She received Johrei sporadically from her childhood godmother, who recommended that she goes to church and talk to the minister. Elena did so, and she received the guidance to receive 10 Johrei a day for 30 days. She accepted this as a challenge, and she did beyond what she was told. She received 45 days of uninterrupted Johrei, including Saturdays and Sundays, when her own godmother went to her house to channel Johrei to Elena. At the same time, she began to give service at the reception of the Johrei Center. After this period, she returned to the doctor and underwent further tests that found out not only that the fat in her liver decreased, regressing to grade 1, but also that her blood circulation had normalized. In the face of this blessing, she had faith and hope restored, and she wanted to become a member to serve through the channeling of Johrei. She was then blessed to receive the sacred focal point Ohikari in September of 2007. She began to dedicate through the channeling of Johrei at home and at the center as an MC for the evening services and later in the accounting sector of the Johrei Center. Through dedication and reading Meishu-sama's teachings, Elena became more flexible, mellow, and tolerant. In this way, the relationship with her husband became much more harmonious. He visited our church and joined our faith in September of 2013. Over the years, Elena has been actively dedicating and taking on greater responsibilities in the church. Currently, she gives service as the person responsible for collecting and editing faith experiences. She continues being the MC for the evening services. She leads in the center's closing prayer once a week and materializes her monthly donation of gratitude. Her health now is excellent as she experiences harmony in her marriage. Before truly meeting Meishu-sama, she was in a hell-like situation, physically and emotionally. Today, she's a happy and grateful person for everything. Thus, her commitment is to continue serving the divine work through dedications and our basic practice of faith with all the love and sincerity. Another faith experience I want to share with you this morning is from Nisete Barreira Diogo. She's from the Lisbon Johrei Center, Portugal. Nisete experienced a great conflict with her neighbor who lives in the apartment on the floor above Nisete. Her neighbor had a bad habit of throwing household trash through the kitchen window, littered Nisete's floor, and disturbed other neighbors as well. Several times they had arguments for this reason. Nisete received a guidance that she should change her surname and wish these neighbors happiness. Thus, she decided as an altruistic practice to offer flowers of light to her neighbor, and the change was immediate to the point that other neighbors also noticed the change, as that one never threw trash out of the window again. Nisete was delighted with this experience and became convinced that she had saved many ancestors related to that situation and felt she fulfilled her mission. However, talking in depth with her minister, she realized that she had much more to do. There could be no real salvation if her neighbor considered the flowers of light just as a beautiful gesture on Nisete's part. It would be important if Nisete could inspire her neighbor to share these flowers of light to someone else as an act of love for others, and to also to connect her neighbor to Meishu-sama through Johrei. Nisete began then praying with this intention, and unexpectedly one day her neighbor knocked on her door, something she had never done in the last 4 years. The neighbor wanted to express thanks for a flower of light she received recently, saying that the minibana was still very beautiful and full of light, and took the opportunity to ask for another flower of light to take to her daughter. Nisette didn't offer Johrei to her neighbor at that opportunity and realized that this was due to a strong resistance inside her. She asked for her neighbor's full name and began to pray for her neighbor and husband. Her wish was to gain the permission of that couple's ancestors to spread the divine light to that home. After 2 weeks, Nisette's washing machine broke down, leaving her clothes stuck without being able to open the machine's door. By chance, she saw her neighbor and told her what was distressing her at that time. Immediately, her neighbor offered to repair her machine. Nisette was speechless and even thought it was an irony how things were developing. The neighbor was at Nisette's house for 90 minutes trying to fix the washing machine unsuccessfully. Nisette was concerned that she was somehow causing an inconvenience. Suddenly, Nisette remembered to give her Johrei right there. As soon as she raised her hand, the neighbor happily said, "Look, it's fixed." Nonetheless, Nisette continued the Johrei channeling. When she finished channeling, they hugged each other affectionately, and the neighbor thanked Nisette insistently, as if Nisette were the one who had done her a big favor. There, Nisette realized the joy of the ancestors. She was very happy for having been able to channel Johrei and invited her neighbor to receive whenever she wanted. As soon as the neighbor left, Nisette immediately felt the need to express gratitude for the joy she felt and prayed, materializing her gratitude. Her commitment is to guide her neighbor step by step on the path of our faith. Meishu-sama teaches us that all that we wish could materialize if we live in accord with the truth. Nisette believes that by having the correct sone, she was able to achieve her goal. Sometimes many members think that it's difficult to channel Johrei, but if we desire from the bottom of our hearts to be instruments of Meishu-sama, aiming at the salvation of others, we will certainly feel the joy of being utilized by God. This was a great learning experience for Nisette. She now strongly feels the importance of practicing Johrei in all situations and at all times, because Johrei is the light that will guide us to the construction of paradise on earth. Thank you very much for attending this morning service, for listening to these experiences. Wish you a very wonderful day.
This brings to a conclusion our morning service. Thank you everyone for joining us. We wish you a very blessed day.